Good evening and Merry Christmas. Welcome to Plank of the Year. I'm Mike Graham, of course. This is the Mike Graham Show. This is the very first Plank of the Year that we've done, but of course we started Plank of the Year about 5 years ago, and I'm delighted to say that I've assembled a panel of people, which includes one of the people who was on the very first Plank show, and that is, of course, Mr. Russell Quirk. Russell, very good evening to you. Merry Christmas to you.
And to you, and to everybody else.
Very nice to see you. He was originally part of the team of people. There was only three of us who started it. It was Annunziata Rees-Mogg was the other one. And she actually sent her apologies because she couldn't come here today. But we'll get her back on soon. We've also got the incredibly mysterious man of mystery, Mr. Will Geddes, who's joining us as well in our new studio, brand new studio, ready for the live show coming next year, January the 5th. And I'm also delighted to say that we're going to cross the water as well to the beautiful Kinsey Schofield over in Hollywood, California. Kinsey, very, very Christmas to you.
I'm the only one wearing a jumper. I feel
I should have made more effort.
A little too enthusiastic here, okay?
Well, I've got a little Christmas tree here, which you can just see peeking into the corner. So that's my kind of,
I'm wearing Christmas black.
You're wearing Christmas black.
Delivering chocolates.
Like the man from Milk Tray. We've had quite a year, Kinsey, and we're going to be talking about the dreaded Harry and Meghan a little bit later on. But let's kick things off with Prince Andrew, who, of course, is no longer Prince Andrew.
Finally exposed for some of his lies this year. Email exchanges with Epstein revealed that Andrew's relationship with Epstein, his friendship, went well beyond his initial claims in that BBC interview. And the public had just had enough. He was caught in a lie, and people started demanding that he lose all of his privileges, absolutely all of them. Now, when the Queen was alive, she did take away some of his titles, and she took away all of his responsibilities. And we keep being told, but he's always going to be a prince. He was born a prince. There's just no way around her. But King Charles technically stripped Andrew this year of his titles, using his royal prerogative, using formal documents like letters patent and royal warrants to erase his styles, like, HRH and Prince. And he stripped him of his Duke of York title. He's no longer a member of the Order of the Garter, the Royal Victorian Order. And he did all of this without leading Parliament, which kind of gave us a wake-up call regarding the power the king truly has when it comes to things like this, because we've all been taught that it's incredibly hard. But King Charles stepped in. He moved fast, officially yanking all of those titles and honors from Andrew because of mounting public pressure. A rare and controversial show of royal power this year.
Absolutely right. And he must have absolutely detested it and hated it, because you could see at that funeral that took place a few months back of one of the older members of the royal family, where he kind of sidled up to Prince William and tried to make some kind of joke about something, like you do at a funeral, and he just had this kind of terrible look from his nephew, who just looked at him like, what the hell are you even thinking, talking like that?
You're right. That was one of the... there were a few dominoes that fell this year that led to this big ordeal, the big stripping of the titles. And that was one of the moments where the public sat back and thought, why is he here? Why is he in a position to be standing next to the future king? The optics are great. And it was his arrogance and smugness at the Duchess of Kent's funeral that turned a lot of people off.
It really did. Let me bring you guys in. Russell, you've got a favourite Prince Andrew moment from his time through the years?
Well, kind of precisely none of them, really. He's just absolutely humiliating, isn't he? For us Brits that are kind of proud royalists and really love the royal family and all the tradition and all the pomp and ceremony that goes with it. I'm not sure who's been more of a disgrace, really, between him and Harry and Meghan. I guess in terms of things that he has done blatantly wrong as part of this kind of elitist approach that he seems to have to everything, I guess it's got to be him, particularly over Epstein and so on. But he's also apparently, from what I hear, just not a very nice person.
No.
Those people that have worked with him or had the misfortune to work with him over the years say that he's just an absolute arse.
This is so typical of these situations, and more often than not, I'll get a phone call from some so-called celebrity who will be hit by some scandal of some description. And one of the first things that we always have to do is, beyond protecting them from any particular threat, is to try and manage the optics around them and manage obviously any kind of press, but the control of the people around them. And Russ, you're absolutely right. The biggest problem that Prince Andrew's had is this whole time tide has broken, and the dam has broken, and the water's coming through of various people who've known Prince Andrew, who worked with him, even members of the Buckingham Palace and Royal Household Security, breaking stories about basically all the teddy bears on his bed, and then various other individuals.
Sorry, that's telling in itself.
Exactly.
A man in his 60s that has teddy bears on his bed. I mean,
Don't you, Russ?
That should be the no, that should be the absolute red flag.
I mean, it should be. And there was a photograph, basically, of how they should be arranged on his bed, and if they weren't arranged specifically to that,
completely creeping me out. But the other thing, as I understand it, this year was the revelation that he hasn't even bothered paying the rent on his property, which is a peppercorn, almost grace and favour rent, and he couldn't even be bothered to pay that, so he's been kicked out.
Yeah, but it's not just this year. I mean, it's been for the last few years. He hasn't paid for it. There is this horrible sense of entitlement. I mean, I think, Mike, as you were saying about Harry and Meghan, they come with a cringe factor, which is more than anything. Andrew comes with this really kind of devious, horrible, sort of
Sinister.
just sinister, absolutely sinister to the cloud around
Does
him.
he have any redeeming features at all, Andrew? I don't think he does.
No. I don't think he does.
None whatsoever.
And I mean, in addition, I suppose, Kinsey, it hasn't been a great year for old Mrs. Mountbatten Windsor, as she would be known if she was still married to him, Fergie. She's had all sorts of, in flagrante emails published that she sent to Jeffrey Epstein, where it looked like she was being much nicer to him than normally you would be to a convicted paedophile. And she's had all of her charitable work stripped away from her, hasn't she?
Supreme friend. That's what she called Jeffrey Epstein in an email. And you're right. I mean, that Fergie monetized, and basically she wrote the book that Harry and Meghan is looking at today about how to monetize their titles. Fergie, Duchess of York, Sarah, Duchess of York. And she's lost that opportunity now. No more QVC, no more Weight Watchers. You know, the shine around her, the glitter around her with that title is now gone, and she's going to have a hard time making money going forward. But let's pretend whoever's watching this lives in a box and has no idea and why this is such a scandal. It's because here in the United States, we are pumping out those Epstein files this year, and we're getting a better sense of what Jeffrey Epstein was really this convicted sex offender, the young women he associated with, the big politicians here in the States that he associated with. So America, I mean, truly, I'm sure that Andrew sits back and just loads American media. The fact that Trump ran on this during his last presidential campaign, that there was going to be transparency here, because between this and Andrew Loney's book entitled, it was the end of Prince Andrew and the beginning of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor in exile.
And where do you think he ends up then, say this time next year? Where's he going to be living?
I think he's going to be in a cottage at Sandringham. I'm sure his daughters would poke their heads in and throw their arms around him and give him some love. But the reality is he can't be seen with the royal family going forward. And I think his daughters should tiptoe around being seen with the royal family going forward, because they remind us of his sins. I know that they're not guilty of his sins, but from our perspective, they certainly remind us of what he's been up to in the past. Allegedly, he denies it, but he also gave somebody a very significant amount of money in a court case.
And he had to borrow it from his mum as well, didn't he?
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I very, very much look forward to him not being part of the royal procession on the way to church.
Yes,
which is tradition. How is the guy going to earn money? I mean, I don't care.
That's the interesting
Where
thing.
does he get his money from?
So one of the things that we know that he was involved in was this whole UK investment into China and the development of sort of entrepreneurs into China and business opportunities.
Doesn't sound dodgy at all.
So obviously not dodgy in the slightest. Yeah, exactly. So what's wrong there?
Yeah.
So inevitably there's going to be lots of different elements. Allegedly there are lots of different businesses that he is attached to, either as a NED, a non-executive director, or as a patron.
What business would want to be attached to the former prince?
Well, probably not many now, Russ, to be fair.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, because there's so many stories, and I mean, of course he's going to deny most of them, but the one that really intrigued me was the one where he went to Bangkok for about 48 hours. And during the 48-hour period that he was in Thailand, he had hired 40 hookers.
I know.
Right?
That's just greedy.
I mean, that's
Friday.
Going to. Sorry to lower the tone, Kinsey, but I mean, what sort of a creature does that?
That is a controversial possibility. I'm not necessarily familiar with, if I'm being honest with you. That is a stamina that maybe should be studied. But how is he going to make money going forward? If we're being honest, Mike, he still has friends. He still has people that love him and believe in him because they grew up and they were able to have a good time because of him. And so I do think he's still going to find people in his corner that will introduce him to people, and he still has those contacts, so he can. It's cash for access in a way that's not necessarily related to the royal family, but I think that he will still make money through introductions because up until now he has lived a very privileged life and surrounded himself by very interesting characters.
He really has.
I mean, it's a good question maybe to ask Kinsey. Do you think he might start trying to take the Harry and Meghan route in trying to monetize his previous royalty?
I don't think that he will, because I think that what he has that Harry and Meghan severely lack is loyalty. And I do think that he loves his family and wouldn't put them in jeopardy. Fergie, on the other hand, I can keep going that loud. She wrote in her previous book about Diana borrowing some of Diana's shoes and them giving her warts. I mean, things like that. She's clearly shameless.
Imagine kissing the toes of somebody with warts on their feet.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Thank you for that. Merry Christmas, everyone. No, I think that she could make a killing. I think she could make a killing talking about Diana, because there are a lot of secrets she still has about Princess Diana and her brief encounters with Harry and Meghan.
Yes, absolutely. Let's just remind ourselves before we move on to the next victim of Plank of the Week. By the way, I hope you like the new plank. We've had this one specially made because the other one's been purloined, but more on that later. We've got our own Plank of the Week now, and it's been put together for Plank of the Year for right now. Do you remember watching that for the first time, Kinsey, and thinking, oh my God, what the hell does he think he's playing at?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been told, my dad always told me, if you don't want to be caught in a lie, don't give unnecessary details. He said, the more detailed you get, Kinsey, I know you're lying. And this is the perfect example of it. Oh, you don't sweat, you weirdo? Absolutely not. Shut up. I don't need to hear that about you.
Absolutely right.
It was almost like a parody, wasn't it?
It was ridiculous.
It was almost like this isn't real. Someone's written this, right? This is just comedy.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think my feeling was that he made it up as he went along, because I think anybody who would have said that would have gone, actually, you know what, there's going to be 1,000 doctors or more watching this who are going to immediately dispute it.
You remember at the time, apparently, so he did the interview, didn't he? Which obviously was an absolute car crash, an absolute disaster. And then news hit about a week later that his PR guy that worked for him full time, funnily enough, had resigned. He said to him previously, Andrew, sir, don't do this.
Yeah.
And that's what he did.
Yeah. Well, I got to know Sam McAllister very well, who was the producer of that actual interview for Newsnight.
Oh, brilliant.
And she said she was sitting on the floor, kind of just off to the side, scarcely able to believe what he was saying. And she said, as soon as they finished, they wanted to show Emily Maitlis around the palace. She basically took the file and scarpered, because she's like, I'm going to get out of the building. Before they realised what he's actually said.
The Grenadier Guards.
Yeah, no, so
made a career, no doubt.
Yeah. Anyway, we're off to a great start. Prince Andrew, the first plank of the year so far. Kinsey, thank you for that. On now, however, to the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, who is also quite an accomplished liar, funnily enough.
Well, he is. And Mike, look, you're the boss here, and I don't want to kind of preempt the outcome, but surely the winner. It's going
to be tough, isn't it?
I was researching this. Actually, that does happen. Some of us do research these things. Earlier on, I was researching, and I thought, how do I come up with enough good reasons amongst hundreds of reasons to nominate Keir Starmer as Plank of the Year? So I thought I'll whittle it down just to 10.
Right.
I've got a bit of time, so if I can just rattle this off. My top 10 Keir Starmer Plank of the Year moments. Didn't stop the boats. Said he would.
No.
Didn't stop the boats.
No.
Didn't not increase taxes on working people. He said he wouldn't do that.
Right.
And he did. Killed the economy.
Yep.
And that's quite a big one, I think.
Yep. He had some help from Rachel Reeves.
Well, he has, the worst budget we've ever had in Britain. Inflation now 50% higher than target. GDP growth going backwards. Unemployment up. Borrowing up. Increased... Yes, unemployment significantly. Got humiliated by Trump, remember that?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely wonderful scene where Trump calls him over, spends 5 seconds talking to him, and then just turns round, puts his back to him, and Starmer has to scurry off like a scolded child. That was fantastic. And recently, you may have seen this, Revelations that he spent £60,000 on a private jet to go and see the Lionesses play football in the final.
Oh, yeah.
60 grand of your money. So that, I think, qualifies. That's number 6. Being the least popular Prime Minister ever, and already fending off leadership challenges just 18 months into his tenure. Lost his bottle on welfare reform, if you remember. Pledged to cut energy bills. They've gone up. And lastly, 6 ministerial resignations just this year.
Yeah,
a total of 12
Yeah.
since he took office only 18 months ago.
It's just incredible, isn't it?
So is it the winner? Sure.
I'm going to find it very difficult not to find Keir Starmer the biggest
You wait. I'm going to throw the gauntlet down, Ross. Don't you worry.
of the year. But I mean, there's even more things that you could have put in there.
Yeah.
You could put 100 things. You could put
The Taylor Swift party, the
you
concert.
could, so you could probably do 365 for every single day of the year.
Have you mentioned Andrew Rayner?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get to Angela Rayner because she's in there as well. But also, I mean, he has this incredibly thick sort of countenance, doesn't he? Because every single time that there's a massive crisis, which seems to be pretty much every week, he puts some ridiculous tweet out. Like today, for example, the day we're recording this, he put this tweet out: "The Employment Rights Act is now law. This is the biggest upgrade to working people's rights in a generation. Working people, you will be protected from fire and rehire. You won't be forced into an exploitative 0 hours contract. You will get sick pay from day one. You will have stronger family leave, and so much more." What he doesn't say is that means nobody's going to hire you.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's killed the entire business.
Exactly. The response from employers, many of whom I've spoken to, just say, well, we're either going to shut our businesses down now, this is the last straw, or certainly not employ people. There is a number 11 that I've just remembered, actually, which was only a couple of weeks ago. Lando Norris, I don't know if you're Formula One fans, Lando Norris, of course, won the Formula One Championship.
Yes.
British driver, fantastic, well-deserved. So the next day, so that was on the Sunday, the next day, Keir Starmer was advised to go to the McLaren Formula One factory in Woking.
I remember this.
And made a speech. And I don't know if you've got this. I mean, if you could put this in, this will be hilarious, because he makes a speech and the people around him that work for McLaren that otherwise were celebrating, right? So their drivers just won the Formula One World Championship. The look on their faces, there were side eyes, eyes rolling, people touching left, right and centre. It completely dampened the atmosphere inside the McLaren factory.
Be here the day after Lando won yesterday, and I hope you've all got a smile on your faces, because that interview with him afterwards, which I hope you've all seen, quite emotional, well, very emotional.
Also, all of the things that he does seem to be completely as if he doesn't realise that there's a great big fire over there, and it's like, and he's going, "Oh, we're going to open a universal theme park in London." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And we have some great fun with it, where you'd have the train that doesn't go anywhere. He's on a HS2, right? But you can't get from point A to point B because there's a bat in a tunnel that you can't go past. There was the dinghy ride where you get in a dinghy, you get shoot across the other side of the lake, you get put in a hotel, you get given a free pizza and a nice jacket from what's it called?
Universal.
Keir, isn't it? Calamity Keir.
It is Calamity Keir. I mean, let me ask Kinsey, because I know this is all a bit domestic for your purposes, Kinsey, but I mean, we hear all the time here that the Americans are kind of aghast at what's going wrong with Britain and how terrible it is here to live and how, the crime is rampant and all the rest of it. But I mean, do any Americans actually really know Keir Starmer? Have they a clue who he is?
What we know of Keir Starmer is a lot of the negative things he said about Donald Trump before Trump was elected for a second term. He was so ugly about Trump. And so what we see on TV a lot is the contrast between before Trump was elected and after, where he's basically the man who needs his knee pads. He's like so thrilled to be in Trump's company. He's got cartoon hearts popping out of his eyes whenever it's around Donald Trump now. And but I will say, I recently talked to somebody who works in hostage negotiations here in the States. He works for the government and does hostage negotiations all over the world for our government. And I said, I'd love to move to the UK. It's a dream to move to the UK. He said to me, the UK is gone. He said, London is gone. It's not a safe place for someone like you. And that broke my heart. But based on the news I see, I believe it.
It's true. And
London has fallen.
Yeah.
London has fallen.
And now it's official. And of course, you don't often hear the words hostages and Keir Starmer in the same sentence.
Sausages.
Famously, he made a speech where he actually asked for the hostages to be released from Hamas in Gaza. And for some bizarre reason, he said, release the sausages. And you kind of go, do you remember that clip? I think we might have that.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
It's just incredible.
It is. I mean, I have a hard time taking him serious. He does sound like Kermit the Frog. Everything you said is incredibly accurate. Boris Johnson was a much more prominent character over here in the United States. Then Liz Truss, then Rishi Sunak, and Keir is just he doesn't feel like an effective leader. There's something very weak about him, and he's not very assertive compared to our president. And I'm not gloating. I know we have our own problems, but compared to our president, he comes off as a very weak man. Yeah.
But he's got the gravitas of a kind of HSBC middle manager.
Yes.
That's kind of his mark.
And let's not forget the other thing that he's done most recently, and this story is still a scandal for me, he's cancelled the elections again. He's basically said, the elections that were going to be cancelled for 1 year will now be cancelled for 3 years, and they basically given permission for every local council leader, if they wish to just say, we're not going to have the elections.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've got to say, Essex particularly, because they've had their elections cancelled previously by the government and Essex County Council, are absolutely up in arms, as they should be. Democracy delayed, democracy denied, and so on. But and the other thing, just to mention with Keir Starmer, of course, we shouldn't forget summer 2024, where he basically said, if you're a patriotic person, a mum or a grandmother that's kind of a bit concerned about the country and therefore comes out onto the street to peacefully protest, he labelled us all as far-right thugs.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Prime Minister
Absolutely.
of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, basically saying, if you're patriotic, you're a Nazi.
Yeah. Unbelievable stuff. Well, let's have a look at what he did this Christmas, because he lit the Christmas tree up. Remember last year where
He did the countdown, I remember that.
One, and we made it, it's a Thunderbird. It was brilliant. But this year, he obviously learned from that, so he got a kid to do it, right? I mean, it's the last sort of bastion of the scoundrel, is you get a child involved. So he got this 14-year-old kid to come in and do the countdown, because he knew that nobody would make fun of it, except for the fact that the kid did it, and was about to hit the big red button, and as he walked towards it, all the lights came on. So it was a fake button, fake government, fake lights, fake prime minister,
fake people.
And that just tells you everything you need to know. Right. Well, we're already running over, I think, so we'll have to run some quick ones. Now, you're up next, Russell, with Talk TV.
Yeah.
Controversial.
Okay. Are we treading carefully here, or are we just going to have a bit of fun?
No,
Let's have a bit of fun.
Listen, I mean, look, what happened is in the past. I'm having a bit of fun. I'm wondering as well whether it's not necessarily Talk TV that's the plank, it's actually Kevin O'Sullivan. So we may bring him in.
Well, let's talk about that, shall we? So, obviously, there's a bit of history. Obviously, you had your situation, shall we say?
Yes.
And as a consequence, you're now doing this.
Yeah.
Can I just say, I'm not sure I'm allowed to say this, but there's going to be quite some rivalry, isn't there?
It's going to be great.
Between this.
Well, when we kick off on the 5th of January, my good friend Jeremy Kyle is also doing a show on Talk TV at the same time. Yeah. So we'll be having a very friendly rivalry.
I've just done a video on the way in saying, look, all's fair in love and war. Maybe there's room for multiple planks of the year, but we'll see which one wins, won't we? I suspect, because, look, I don't want to blow too much smoke up his bum, but Mike is the inventor of planks.
The creator.
So it's only right, I think, that it's kind of, this is, what do we call this, the plank of the year resurrection?
Yes. Resurgent.
Yes, resurgent. Yeah. So like a term.
Well, one of the things that happened in the last 48 hours, and Kinsey, you might be aware of this, Kevin O'Sullivan and I, of course, go way back. We've known each other about 40 years, right? So he inexplicably the other night put out a tweet that says, Plank of the Week Christmas special, with his various different guests and him, and decent production values, except no cheapo substitutes, right? Which everybody assumed he meant me, because, here we are sitting in this new studio. It may not be quite as grand as the one at News, but, we're very proud of it. And so, unfortunately for Kevin, now everybody just had a go. And everyone went, look, Plank of the Week is Mike's show. Everybody knows it's Mike's show. What on earth are you thinking? Anyway, so he got sort of...
It was a bit of a planky move, actually,
it was
by
very
Kev,
planky,
to be honest.
And so he got completely flamed overnight by everyone.
It was a pile-on.
It was a real...
Yeah, he really did. I mean, there was not one positive comment.
Well, yes, we have an update for you, because he then got in touch with me the following morning, having woken up and gone, oh, Christ, I'm in the shit here. So he sent me a very nice grovelling apology and said, look, I'm really sorry, I was just trying to be funny. And I was like, yeah, of course you were.
Yeah, that backfired.
And then even more bizarrely, we were both at a party in Parliament on Thursday night, and he turned up. And my son, who was with me, said, oh, look, the Plank of the Week's here. And I And so we had a picture. And of course, everybody now thinks that we did it deliberately just to give us both publicity so that we both get better ratings for Christmas. So listen, Kinsey, I know you still work for Talk TV. I wish Talk TV well. I wish all of my friends that still work there well. I just thought I couldn't, in all good conscience, do Plank of the Year without mentioning them.
I am on team PR. I think that you guys, like the Kardashians and the Sussexes, I think that it's all just a staged fight for tabloid headline. No. But you know what I will say in defense of Talk TV? I am so grateful that they introduced me to you. I've spent a lot of time with Russell in real life, thanks to Talk TV. You personally, during the play, I was just so lonely and heartsick and scared of where we were going next. And I had you on YouTube. You were the first person I started watching on YouTube. And I'm just so grateful that you came into my life thanks to Talk TV, and I know that they've done great things for you elsewhere as well. But my personal testimony is that I'm grateful that they brought me your friendship and some of the other friendships, including Kevin O'Sullivan, that I've developed over there. And I texted you in the chat, like, I love your entrepreneurial spirit, and I love seeing what you're building over here. And I know it's going to be a huge success, and I'm proud of you.
Well, Kinsey, you're very kind. Thank you very much.
There are some good people there.
There are great people.
Great
there.
people.
And I don't want anyone feeling sorry for me either, by the way. So
From it.
but we wish them well, and I'm sure they wish me well as well. Let's move on. Angela Rayner is going to be my nomination, because who could forget that she started this year off as the Deputy Prime Minister. She had a very nice Grace and Favour flat in Admiralty Gate, just a stone's throw from Downing Street. She had a very nice boyfriend who she decided she wanted to buy a house with, or a flat down in Hove. Unfortunately, the reason for her buying that place was so that she could have a fourth residence, because she already has a house in Ashton-under-Lyme. And she seems to have had two houses there at one point. She seems to have a real problem with houses.
And especially the tax on them.
And the tax on them. And you're a property expert, so you can help us out here.
It's not that hard to work out, isn't it?
But she's got a son who is in the house in Ashton-under-Lyme. And he has got various different disabilities for which he has a trust fund, which helps him to exist.
I think.
It was compensation, but it's been put into a trust fund. She took money out of that trust fund so that she could buy the flat in Hove.
But didn't take enough money out to pay the stamp duty.
No. Oops. So it's all very mysterious, right? And then she didn't declare the house that she lived in London as her main residence in order to avoid paying council tax.
Which was the Grace and Favour one.
Which is kind of standard playbook for a lot of MPs as well anyway, allegedly.
Yeah, but the reason she did it was because if it's a first home rather, you have to pay the double the rate.
Exactly,
So it would have been £4,000 instead of £2,000. So she forgot to declare that, apparently.
She forgot where she lived. Which is, we've all done it.
Yeah. I mean, a bit like Tulip Sadiq, who hasn't been mentioned because she hasn't, even though she's been sentenced to 3 years in prison in Bangladesh, she's not the worst of it, right? And her auntie's been sentenced to death.
But hang on, she's the anti-corruption minister. Anti-corruption minister. Who's been sentenced in absence.
Have you been to Bangladesh?
No.
There's a little bit of corruption that goes on there.
Quite a lot.
So if you're wanted to be sentenced in Bangladesh for corruption,
you've got to be pretty
that's a winner.
corrupt.
That's a winner.
Well, she was another one though who didn't know who owned the house she was living in. Because it all happens to all of us. You move in somewhere and you go, I don't even know who owns this. I don't know if it's you. I don't know if that guy up there. We just have no idea. Anyway, she had to resign as Deputy Prime Minister in September of this year. But she's already got a book deal, right? She's going to be going to...
What's that? How to dodge the tax, the stamp duty?
I assume it's a guide to...
Stamp duty education. An idiot's guide to stamp duty. Dummy's guide.
Dummy's guide to evading it,
But the thing that I found amazing, because I was looking back at this just the other day, these politicians, when they resign, they write these ludicrously long letters, don't they? And hers is one of the longest ever. I don't know if somebody else wrote it for her because the spelling's right and everything, so I assume
probably not. No.
So she did it on.
It wasn't in crayon.
It's probably AI, But she and then Starmer, who doesn't want to fire any of these people because he's so scared of them coming back to bite him on the arse. he then writes another ridiculously long letter saying how sorry he is that he's had to let her go. And now they're talking about bringing her back.
Well, I was going to say there are two extraordinary things about this, as if the original story itself is not extraordinary enough. And one is that she still apparently, stand to be corrected, but apparently hasn't paid the £40,000 stamp duty.
Oh, she still hasn't?
So this is 3 or 4 months later.
Wow.
And yes, the other thing is that it seems that you can transgress in politics and kind of be fired effectively or asked to resign. And then literally days, weeks later, be asked back as if the slate has now been magically kind of wiped clean. It's a bit like Men in Black, when they've got that thing that they flash at your face. Everyone's forgotten. Now no one remembers what you did, right? You can now come back and be not only actually probably in cabinet, but of course she's also on the news, as it seems, in terms of the leadership of the Labour Party.
Yeah.
Because look, do we all think that Keir Starmer, back to my nomination just now, he's going to last until the end of this Parliament? I mean, absolutely no chance.
No.
Someone's got to take his place.
But maybe they just won't have any more elections, and then we'll just never have another election.
Ever.
It'll be his chance.
Ever.
Yeah, because
Start with his life.
Well, that's what he's doing with the council elections. He's literally just cancelled the election.
Yeah, we'll be full fat North Korea. That's what we'll be.
Yeah. Perfect.
Incredible.
Great.
Meanwhile, we should also give a special mention to David Lammy, who doesn't actually make the final list, believe it or not, even though...
He should have.
He is...
He must be number 11 or 12.
He must be, yeah. I mean, he's as big a plank as any. And of course, when he was Foreign Secretary, you might remember, he was jetting off all over the place, selling off the Chagos Islands, going around the world, I think 55 times or something on planes, and doing this square route of absolutely bugger all. So we'll give him a special mention. But yeah, I mean... The whole Labour government is so hopeless that you could just do every single nomination on them. I mean, if you've got
I might have one for you.
you probably have actually. You've got one coming up, haven't you?
I might do.
So talking of useless ministers in this particular Labour government, I mean, there has to be a mention, does there not, of Richard III, a.k.a. Rachel Reeves. Will, over to you.
Oh, well, Rachel Reeves, I mean, where do we start again? I'm not quite used to having to go through such a litany of disasters and catastrophes, and much like Russ, I'm going to have to refer to my notes, but let's start the year with a very promising start, which was on the most romantic date of the year. Russ, you should know that, being an old romantic.
What do you mean, my wedding anniversary that I missed and forgot?
Yeah, let's go with Valentine's Day, just to save time. So the 14th of February was the first of the uncovering of Rachel Reeves' somewhat ambiguous history and curriculum vitae, and her claims of having been an economist at the Bank of England and having been involved with HBOS and all sorts of things in a very, very sort of smart way to evidently sort of clarify and confirm that she was the right person for the job as the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
I worked as an economist at the Bank of England before entering politics.
Because she managed a call centre.
Yeah, well, pretty much, yeah. So the call centre calls, she was pretty good at that. Sadly, she wasn't very good at answering any questions or any inquiries in the Commons.
Particularly when it came to anything about money.
Exactly. And then it just continued. The snowball continued down the hall, down the hill, gathering steam as it went. We had a reported correction after inflation real wages framing was made wrong. We had spending review claims broadly accurate, they claimed, but highly inaccurate. Parliamentary record amended after inaccurate figures. It just goes on, and I'm very, very happy to open this up to you other gentlemen.
The budget.
The budget
those two words.
was really...
It was an absolute disaster.
That was the key thing, really. It was the budget and this mysterious black hole that they needed to fill.
Which didn't exist.
And you and I as employers will know this, that whole national insurance and that employees' contribution hike, which was just... one way to kill the economy in small business.
Very helpfully, and gone back to kind of January. We only need to go back. I mean, where are we? We need to go back about 4 weeks to qualify as Bank of the Year, particularly because of the budget. Not just the budget and the fact that she lied. She did lie about the black hole.
Oh, she did. Totally.
One. But then, of course, the OBR, the Office of Budget Responsibility, that works directly with her, leaked it. Yeah, but leaked it an hour before the budget. I think that's almost like a criminal offence.
Well, it was worse than they leaked it. They didn't just leak it. They had this ludicrously unsafe... You're a man that knows a bit about security and cybersecurity. They basically put the budget, which is meant to be a top secret document, not accessible by anybody, into a PDF, right? And they put it on a website, ready to release it when the time was right. And some clever journalist, we don't know exactly who, apparently just worked out that if you changed 24 to 25.
Yeah, it's the URL.
Yeah.
You only have
It's
to
the
change
URL
one
code.
word. Yeah.
You got the whole budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
41 minutes ahead of time.
Yeah.
And it was like
Extraordinary.
And of course, nobody's taken the fall for it. She was there was an inquiry sort of set up, and they said she should be investigated by the Financial Conduct Authority. Starmer said, "Oh no, we don't need to do that." So she's not being investigated.
I think the OBR head, Richard Hughes.
Richard Hughes had to go.
to resign.
He was made
Of
to
course,
resign.
absolutely, yeah.
He was the fall guy.
Yeah.
But basically, everything she says turns out to be a lie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
everything.
and you talked earlier about Starmer's promises that he broke. I mean, she's broken every promise that she's ever made.
Particularly on tax.
Yeah.
Not taxing working people.
I did not come into politics to raise taxes on working people.
And then she went ahead and did it. And now, you know, in the TV interviews thereafter, you know, you think that these people, when they've done something so blatantly deceptive, i.e., I'm going to tell you the things that I'm definitely not going to do, and then 6 months, 12 months later, they actually do them.
Yeah.
That they would have an element of humility.
Imagine if you were married
No,
to
there's
somebody
no
like that.
retraction, but it's typical. It's typical of politicians. So, you know, they'll make a mistake. They won't own up to it. They won't turn around. You know, we as the electorate and the general public would have a great deal more credibility or install credibility into these people.
I like where Mike's
if they
analogy is
actually-
going, right? Yeah,
Go on,
you
sorry.
get married and you say, I work in the city, I want $1 million a year, I've got a Ferrari and a chalet in
I'm
Switzerland.
an economist.
Turns out you're a cleaner with an escort, you know, an escort.
And then you get caught out lying, but you get given another chance.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't admit it.
But you don't admit it.
Yeah.
And it just carries on. I mean, Kinsey, again, I know this is all a bit internally British about our exchequer and our politicians, but I mean, you have the same problem there with your politicians. They're all a bunch of liars as well, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, well, you were talking about them failing upwards. Like it's politics where it's amazing watching people just fail upwards. We've done something horrible and you got a promotion. And what other career does that happen? Not even at a Burger King does that happen. But when it comes to Rachel specifically, I think that she will struggle to have a life beyond this Keir Starmer because she doesn't have the ruthless backbone that others do. We saw her in tears this year.
Yeah.
Well, let's have a look at that. We can remind ourselves of the tears. We never were told. I mean, it was supposedly a personal matter, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Some spat between her and Rayner.
It was meant to be a spat between her and somebody inside the chamber, but they tried to make it look as if it was some kind of personal thing. So, you can't. This is the latest sort of how to shut down journalists thing that goes on.
Yeah.
They say, this is a personal matter. You can't intrude. They tried the same trick with Angela Rayner. You know, she's got children. You know, you can't talk about the children. You know, they hide behind people like that at Kinsey, don't they, all the time?
They do, but I think that it shows us that she's weak. And why would you get behind that? I don't think she's going to be able to rebrand. That's probably a terrible word for it, but I don't think she's going to have a life beyond this. I think that she just seems like a weak, miserable person that doesn't doesn't stand for anything.
We want a chancellor here like your Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, God. No, don't.
Somehow turn a $200,000 a year salary into a $250 million.
Well, that's like most of the Senate committee.
It's incredible.
Most of them. I mean, I saw the figures the other day of how many have increased their portfolios, and one of them was about 140%.
But Kinsey, back in the US, isn't there
Inside trading.
Is there a little bit of chatter around that? How Nancy Pelosi's become so rich?
Oh my gosh, there's an app which I need to get on where they just follow all of her moves on the stock market and they just invest in this new company.
I mean, there's a nice spat going on, Kinsey, that you're probably all aware of, which is between Dan Crenshaw and one of his former sort of SEAL teammates, Sean Ryan. And there's a whole question of this spat that's been going on, that Sean Ryan, who Crenshaw has accused of defamation, has Sean Ryan said that he's going to ask for a sort of release of information as part of that litigation to see how Dan Crenshaw's managed to acquire his wealth whilst he's been a senator.
With a Navy SEAL.
No, well, they're both former Navy SEALs. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Mr. Crenshaw's not very popular.
Well, Nancy Pelosi is the only woman I know, or the only person I know actually, who's got a fridge that's worth £26,000. I don't even know.
It's full of money.
Well, you put it, it's full of money, yeah.
Bullion.
But let's just before we finish up on Rachel, because there is one thing she could do, right? She could possibly seek her fortune as a Shakespearean actor.
Oh, yeah.
Let's have a look at one of her famous speeches.
Yeah, this is a good one.
So there you go, the Battle of Bosworth Field. A lot worse than those days when you were running the country, because you ended up losing your horse and probably your life.
It probably is on her CV though, like a bit like the chess championship
Yes,
thing.
it probably is.
Yeah, it's probably on there.
Absolutely right. Let's go back to the Royals, possibly not the Royals. Kinsey Schofield, live from California. Harry and Meghan. I mean, they normally win Plank of the Year. I think last year they just got pipped to it by Keir Starmer, I think, or by the Labour government in general. But they've had another terrible, terrible year, haven't they?
Do you want me to combine these two, or do you want them separately? Because their year has been so, so monstrous that I could do separate segments. What would you prefer?
I think you should do separate segments. Yeah, why not?
All right, well, let's talk about Renta Prince Harry, who's had a horrible 2025, accused of bullying and walked away from the Senabale charity this year. That's the charity that he created in honor of Princess Diana. It was Dr. Sophie Shandaka who went on international television and said, your wife and you harassed me. You wanted me to defend you because of online commentary surrounding something that I did feel was kind of bullying, and I refused to be a part of the Sussex PR machine. Then we have Harry's African Parks charity. This is a conservation charity, and it's faced serious controversy over allegations that rangers working in its managed parks committed human rights abuses against Indigenous communities, including violence, rape, and intimidation. Accountability and transparency have fallen short here. Harry hasn't responded to these allegations at all. And when he was in New York doing meetings for African Parks Charity, the media was shut out. The media could not observe, could not talk to anybody. It's very bizarre. Let's just talk about the end of the year, wrapping Harry's Toronto Hilton appearance with real estate agents. Not there to talk about real estate, because what the hell does he know about it? He's paying rent for the first time in Montecito, California. Just learned how to pay his phone bill 5 years ago. His appearance at the British American Business Council's Christmas lunch, where he compared to being royal to being on Downton Abbey. He's pursuing his stand-up career with his failed attempt at comedy on Stephen Colbert. He sat down with Hassan Minaj, where he claimed he didn't know Taylor Swift and Charlie XCX. I mean, have you ever seen a more lost individual? And I guess more Rent a Prince, because it's giving all of what they're doing right now is giving Fergie.
Yeah, It really is embarrassing, isn't it? And you'd think it's a bit like this Labour government. You don't think it can get any worse, but it gets more embarrassing. I mean, I'm just looking at a story just this week where the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have rebranded their charity as Archewell Philanthropies. For God's sake. I mean, what does it even mean?
It's just the same charity that they didn't give any money away from.
Yeah, it was just called Archewell then.
Yeah.
That's a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah, and then they spend about a day a year.
So they basically changed the name but done nothing else, right?
Yeah, I think that they want it to look bigger. They claim that they changed it because they want to be able to move money around faster. Also sounds pretty deaf to me. But I loved it because Axios is a pretty liberal outlet, said that it was a pivot basically because they tend to abandon so many of their projects, which is true for a 40 by 40 Meghan Markle project. I mean, can we list anything other than Invictus that we feel like they've absolutely committed to or invested a lot of time or money in? I can't.
They really don't. I mean, they seem to be sort of like gadflies. One minute they're doing a series with Netflix, the next minute they're not doing a new series. Spotify have decided not to do any more podcasts with them. They're basically saying now that they want this mission statement for Archewell to be more streamlined and to have greater flexibility. They apparently want to have, they want to allow it to focus more on impact than operations. I mean, it's kind of gobbledygook, isn't it?
Isn't everything they do gobbledygook? I just think that this is trying to divert attention away from a really bad year. I mean, Meghan's father loses a leg and she announces she's got a new Girl Scout documentary. This is par for the course when it comes to Harry and Meghan. Nobody cares. Nobody thinks of those two as philanthropists. Absolutely not. Not even Harry anymore. They think of this craft polo documentary that, they're trying to force a narrative that no one's buying.
Yeah, I think the fact that, certainly with her father being unwell recently, and she had the perfect PR opportunity, didn't she, Kinsey, to basically repair all that damage that she created before. But then to be found out that she couldn't even call him directly, she had to call him through third parties, even through the local consulate who would communicate his condition. It's just a car wreck. I don't know who's doing that PR, but it's a
She
disaster.
spent years using the royal family for PR opportunities, so why not just use her own family for PR opportunities?
Well, exactly.
And I just want to hear Kinsey in her best American say gobbledygook again.
Yes, I want to hear that.
Kinsey.
Gobbledygook, gobbledygook.
It's great.
Brilliant.
I'm seeing their new Christmas card as well here in front of me, where it doesn't say Happy Christmas, it says Happy Holiday Season. And I know that's a thing that happens in America, but they're basically saying, we wish you a very happy holiday season and a joyful new year. And there's a picture of them, I think, on a ski trip where they're holding hands with one another. And just, I just find...
Well, he's probably put happy holidays, Mike, because, he's still on the Taliban kill list, since his rubbish book came out.
He's been politically correct.
Yeah.
And what happened about his year of legal actions, Harry? Because hasn't he been humiliated a few times this year?
He has. I think there's a new lawsuit coming. He's also just won, has he not, the right to once again appeal?
Yeah, it's not quite what you might think it is.
No, probably not.
From what I've heard.
No, probably not. But I think he's got another. He just doesn't seem to be able to leave lawyers alone. He's got another. I think he's going up against the Daily Mail in the coming months with another, lawsuit about having his phone hacked. It just doesn't stop, does it?
And Kinsey, do you think we're going to see another Netflix series from Meghan, or maybe even Meghan and Harry?
I don't. It's my understanding that the only reason that Netflix is giving them this new opportunity, this new book option about the wedding, is because they're dangling a Diane documentary carrot in front of Netflix for the 30th anniversary of her death. But I don't think that analytically the return on investment is there when it comes to Meghan Markle's content. And none of her newer projects have hit the top 10. Her first one did. I think that was Morbid Curiosity. But the last two, the season 2 and the Christmas special, failed horribly when it came to the analytics.
Isn't it just wonderful and so respectful and ingratiating when someone makes loads of money out of the death of their mother?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and here's a quick one, Kinsey. You'll know the inside track on this one. So is it believed that Meghan apparently has already injected, or Harry has, on the Crown series on Netflix, that when it comes to the season that they will be involved in, that they've got to get prior approval or something along those lines?
Well, The Crown has wrapped. The Crown is done. They've talked about doing a prequel, but they haven't talked about catching us up on the latest. I think Harry and Meghan would want to produce their own content about themselves. But Mike, do you just want me to do my own Meghan Markle list now, or do you want me to hold off till later? I can list off like 5 things really quickly.
Sorry, so that's Harry out of the way. Let's do Meghan, as they would say.
Well, 2025 did not start off well for Meghan Markle. It was Vanity Fair's American Hustle piece that really set the tone, where we talked about how litigious Harry and Meghan are, and specifically Harry. But Vanity Fair, in this February piece, talked about Meghan shopping around a post-divorce book. Now, we know how intense Vanity Fair's lawyers are. Someone on their team approved putting that in print in basically the pop culture Bible, Vanity Fair. And Harry and Meghan's team didn't threaten a lawsuit. Harry and Meghan's team didn't go after Vanity Fair. So the fact that this divorce rumor, it was given life in this piece was incredible. Additionally, they talked about Harry's obsession with hot chocolate, how Spotify was so desperate for him to work at all that they pitched him a hot chocolate themed podcast. They talked about some Meghan Markle former employees needing therapy. So that is how 2025 kicks off in February for the Sussexes. Then we have disaster tourists. Harry and Meghan showing up at the California fires, and some of those people that actually live there going, "Get the hell out of here. Your presence is not needed or wanted." The Gingy turn Wayla out of you. I felt like that got put on my Meghan Meghan Markle this year. The twerking video in the hospital, nothing says royal like Meghan squatting 1 foot off the ground and gyrating, like Jesus, like I can't unsee that. Talk about needing therapy after. Here I am. Paris Fashion Week, where Meghan Markle puts her feet on the seat as she passes by the tunnel where Princess Diana dies and uploads that to Instagram shamelessly. And then we got her father's invitation, which we briefly spoke about. Meghan is trying to force a familyless holiday Christmas special down our throat. Her father is having limbs removed, and she doesn't think that she should handle this in a different way. It's been an absolutely unbelievable year, Meghan Markle watchers.
Well, I remember, I was saying to Pooch, the producer who's sitting behind me over there, your first instinct normally when one of your parents is having a limb amputated is not to send them an email, really, is it? You'd probably think about maybe going to see them.
You go and see them,
or maybe just, and then to say later, though, I'm not sure about the email address. It might be a bit old because I haven't spoken to him for 5 years. Maybe we'll get a new email address. Yeah, it's just incredible, isn't it?
It's so cruel and mean, and you're trying to force this family-focused brand on everybody. I like to play flour sprinkles on my pancakes, and it's like you're not even talking to any members of your family. Like the delusion is impressive. Like I wish I could be that level of delusion.
It really is extraordinary, incredible. I've got to finish because I've got to do my impression of Meghan because people do.
Oh, we love it. We love it, Mike. Come on, Mike.
One of my favourite ones was when it all went a bit funny in October. I said, Harry, Mike Graham's been cancelled. It's great news. He's never going to be slagging us off again. Bad luck, Meghan. I'm afraid I'll still be doing it.
Here he is.
Back. I mean, and Harry and Meghan have won, I think, this particular competition more times than anyone.
Yep.
Because I think the first 3 years we did it, they won it every single year. But, it's tough this year with Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
It is. We're going to go back to the world of politics, though, because it's time for you to give us Sadiq Khan. Who's come so close to winning this very, very often. He's won it once, I think. He almost always comes in second, but I wish he would come in second at the next election as opposed to first. Will Geddes, give us the lowdown.
Again, another person with a very, very hideous record of time as our mayor. In 3 terms that he's had, and he can even, he could even achieve potentially a 4th term.
Really?
I think he said he's got one, isn't he?
He's allowed to have 1 more term, potentially, if he gets in. So, allegedly, maybe getting various parties to vote for him. But let's go through Sadiq Khan. Any Londoner like myself will know full well that I don't need to list all the horrible things that he's done to this city and how he's ruined
It's only an hour-long show.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just take it all the way through. For everything from the Grenfell Tower disaster, where his oversight was not sufficient enough to make sure that building was safe, and there's been subsequent problems from there. The Metropolitan Police, Mark Rowley, his predecessor, Cressida Dick, who was unceremoniously hoofed out of her position, much loved, much liked within the police force, or police service, as we should call it now. Mark Rowley, I think the fact that Mark's even got any hair on his head left, I think is surprising that he hasn't pulled it all out by now. But I think we just have to walk around London. I've been in London all my life, and I have to say, it's not the city I knew and I loved. It's changed so drastically. The whole topography, the environment, the threat. Kinsey, even what you were saying about you speaking to this K&R negotiator, and him advising that you don't come to London. We've seen such a significant drop-off in tourism. You only speak to any London black cabbie and he'll tell you there aren't anything like the same number of high-value tourists that are coming in from the Middle East or from America. Sadly, we've got too many other members of the Middle East who are here that are unfortunately adding to the crime records that we've got here. Mike, I think we've all had someone close to us who's suffered directly from the criminality in London. Knife crimes just continue to go up. Watches, phones, everything getting stolen from various people. Cars getting broken.
But the thing is,
like yours.
Sadiq Khan, I've got a clip of it here. He's constantly telling us how much safer London is.
And it's not.
Than it used to be. Let's have a look.
In that light, Mr. Mayor, do you think the state in London is not less safe than when you took over? Was an honest thing to say?
I do, and you do.
That's extraordinary.
I'm very happy to have a discussion on what the definition of robbery is, actually.
Okay.
But it depends which metrics you use to measure safety. You measure the metrics, Chair, in relation to...
Okay, well, let's give you another one then, Mr Mayor.
Well, hold on, Chair.
No. Have you finished your answer to the question?
I haven't, Chair. I haven't. We all want to be Jeremy Paxman. Let me answer the question.
Right.
And so it depends which metrics you use to measure safetiness. It could be robbery.
Metropolitan Police statistics, Mr Mayor, that are
No.
published and available
Have you
online.
finished the answer, Mr. Mayor?
And so I'm quite clear that as far as London's concerned, we are a safe city.
And he uses all sorts of weird metrics, doesn't he? Because he collects data in a way which is actually dishonest.
Yeah. Well, there was an index recently, I think during November, that did actually rank London as the best city in the world.
Right.
So I had a look into that. Well, for a whole bunch of things around tradition, architecture, shopping, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But what it didn't mention is things like crime. So crime didn't figure in the statistics at all. But of course, you add crime into the fact that 250 people a year are being stabbed to death on the streets, 90,000 phone thefts, 6,000 watch thefts. You can't even wear a nice watch in London now. And everybody says you can't do that. So his record on all of the most important things that a mayor should be responsible for, housing, he's failed. Crime,
he won't meet his targets in March 2026.
But he's also a man that when you, as I sometimes do believe it or not, watch the GLA question time of the mayor, and you've got people like Alex Wilson and Susan Hall asking him questions. Up until about 3 weeks ago, he denied the very existence of grooming gangs in London. It turns out about a week later, someone grasped him and said, actually, you are aware of the fact that there are something like 9,000 live police investigations into grooming gang behaviour within the capital city of London. So he's not just failed, he's a bloody liar.
No, but he's a virtue signaller, which is even worse. And we have this whole situation now where the whole pro-Palestine movement, the pro-Hamas, pro-terrorism movement, which is out there, have been given an absolute free rein to protest across London, as and when they please. It's even removed from what traditionally the Met Police used to do, which was with the actual councils, where you had to put in an application to do a protest. These guys will just simply turn up. But then when you have something like the farmers that come into Parliament Square, or you get any other groups, then
they confiscate their livelihood.
Yeah. So it's so double standard. And then add into it this entire nonsense on climate change, him flying all the way over to various parts of the world for climate change conferences and discussing matters which really would make no difference to London. And then extending the EULA zone, which is immediately impacting the economy.
But the only saving grace, the only silver lining to the cloud is when Donald Trump talks about him.
Oh, yes. They don't like each other much.
He's a nasty man.
He pains him. And that's brilliant.
He absolutely does. And the most recent thing that he tried to do was after the horrible massacres in Bondi Beach, there was a vigil organised to be held in Westminster. He tried to block it. He tried to stop it from going ahead.
He tried to stop it.
Similarly, when there was a carol concert set up, by what they would loosely term, far-right thugs, the police were instructed to call it a protest, to treat it as a protest. It was actually people singing carols. It's all very...
And the pro-Palestine guys, on the night of or the day after the Bondi Beach attack, all turned up in Whitehall, outside Downing Street, all celebrating what had actually happened. I mean,
the Globe
make it make sense to me.
I know, it really is awful. And the other thing that he's managed to do this year is to chase a business out of London, and that is the zip car business. Zipcar have gone bust because they can't operate with the congestion charge. And you were talking about the clean air sort of situation. There's another load of old cobblers that he comes out with. His reforms to the car banning that goes on constantly in London now is because the air is now cleaner. There's no evidence that the air is any cleaner.
Also now he's started to impose the congestion charge on electric cars.
Yes, exactly. That started
December the 30th.
Correct. And added to which, I mean, I travel on the tube every single day. I mean, I go back and forth to various different meetings and the like. The tubes are getting worse. Sexual crime against women and harassment has got worse. There are less BTP, less British Transport Police that are available. Numbers are being shaved down.
You don't see a copper on the tube.
You don't.
I don't think I have for 5 years.
And every time you use it, you see some scumbag rushing through the gates without paying.
Absolutely. And it was only Robert Jenrick who sort of highlighted that the other day.
I stopped one the other day. I was very happy about it.
But then also now you sit on the tube that you see all these signs, the signs that tell you what you can and can't do. do.
Right.
Don't
Yeah.
look at other people.
Don't stare
That's
at people.
harassment. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't stare. That's harassment,
Right.
sexual assault, apparently. Looking at a woman, you know. Well,
Is it?
more than about half an hour.
Oh, I'm guilty then.
Yeah. No burgers advertised, nothing with sugar in. No, it's
Yeah.
absolute farce.
I know.
Yeah, it's a joke. And then there was the Ricky Gervais, very comedic adverts for his new drink that he's got a backing of, which was "Don't come to London without your stab vest."
Right.
And that ad was banned.
Yeah.
It was banned by TfL.
I mean, Kinsey, you come here fairly frequently, and I know there's lots about Britain that you love. But have you? I know you said earlier that you've been having these conversations in the States, and a lot of people have, about whether to come back or not. I mean, have you noticed it changing over the course of time that you've been coming?
I mean, I feel safe when I'm there, but I do things to ensure that I'm safe. I stay close to where I have to work. I wear a link on my phone across my body. I don't stare at my phone when I'm walking somewhere or go out somewhere. I don't wear headphones. I go out of my way to try to protect myself in a way that I don't when I'm home. But whenever I get a cabbie, you know, when in a black cab, they say to me, I can't find anybody that voted for this guy. Sadiq Khan. I've never met a single person that voted for Sadiq Khan. And that cracks me up because every black cabbie that I talk to says I've never met a person that voted for him. So I don't know how he's in this position of power because I don't feel like he does a really great job based on the amount of time I'd spend there and based on my study of that city that I'd love to live there, but I'm being told it's not the safest place in the world to be right here.
Yeah, you'd have to have a constant companion, Will Geddes, to protect you when you're out on the streets, you know, because he knows how to handle himself. But listen, let's move back to national politics, because it's I think my final nomination, actually, or maybe not. Your party.
Oh,
have you heard
of your party?
Yeah,
I got confused.
When I say your party, I don't mean your
No,
party.
it's not your party.
It's not your
Is it
party.
ours?
It's
not your party.
It's not our party. It's already conflicting.
It's nobody's
right?
party.
Well, I mean, we have to remember that this is the sort of ragtag bobtail outfit that got started up sometime in the summer.
By Corbyn.
By Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah.
And they couldn't, first of all, we should have known it would be a disaster because pretty much Jeremy Corbyn, everything he touches turns to the opposite of gold, whatever that may be. But he sort of got into bed, metaphorically speaking, obviously, with Zara Sultana, who's an MP. And they couldn't even agree on who was leading the party. Then they couldn't agree on what to call it, right? And of course, at one point we were all suggesting Jezbollah would have been the best name for it. It would have been perfect, you know, because of his good mates in Hamas and Hezbollah that he likes to invite into Parliament. But I mean, it's just been one ridiculous farce after another.
Yeah.
You know, they had a conference which ended up like something out of Monty Python.
Well,
Didn't they have a sing-along or something?
Well, no, but they had all these kind of activists none of whom could agree on anything.
No, but
right?
Zara Sultana also boicotted her own conference.
She boycotted her own conference.
She stood outside protesting her own conference. What's the weirdest thing ever?
Don't go in.
And because she was complaining about people who were too far left in the party who had been kicked out of the party.
Yeah.
And it was literally like, you know, the People's Front of Judea and the Popular Front of Judea all fighting each other, going, well, what have you done for me
It
lately?
was like some kind of vicarious doom loop. wasn't it? Because what you had all the kind of right-on pro-trans lobby, and then obviously the Muslim vote, which of course, you know, they're trying to attract away from Labour. And of course, there was a little bit of a clash there in terms of ideology. They hadn't really anticipated it, I don't think. And it was like this kind of nitroglycerin thing that just blew up.
And they can't agree on anything, right? Because they've got the sort of the pro-trans lot over here, you know, who want to be treated a particular way. You've got the sort of pro-migrant people over here. And you've got sort of over this way, you've got the people who are really, really keen on the workers and a revolution and having some kind of, you know, people's republic without a government at all. Yeah, they do. But, you know, so they've had all these rows, right? So now they've decided not to have any leaders at all.
Brilliant.
Right? So Zara Sultana.
Well, it's the proletariat. Well, whatever that word is.
Kinsey to say proletariat.
Thank you.
So they've got a revolutionary new system which is controlled by ordinary members rather than a single leader. So you can imagine.
Yeah, but that's very communist.
It'd be like that. Remember that old comedy show, not the 9 o'clock news. I always remember they did a sketch with a union meeting going on, and somebody came in and went, you know, how many teas? A couple of hands went up. How many coffees? 5. You know, he went, right. That's 2 million teas, 4 million coffees. You know, they're all sitting around arguing with each other. And this conversation all took place in Liverpool, outside the conference and inside the conference. Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn don't seem to speak to each other at all.
No.
Right? they don't agree on
They
anything.
obviously feel they need each other politically in terms
Yeah.
of Corbyn's kind of far left cohort,
Yeah.
Zara Sultana's Muslim cohort, I guess.
Yeah.
But the other big question, of course, the other big argument is one of money. So because apparently, if you remember back, I think it was about the summer, Zara Sultana apparently set up a page for donations and took about £800,000 in donations.
Yes, right.
And then Jeremy Corbyn says the next day, what the hell are you doing? What's all this about?
Because
Where
it's
did
the
the
wrong,
money
it's the
go?
wrong bank account.
Oh, yeah, but she's still got the money.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Well, apparently
nice.
they were expecting 13,000 delegates to come to the conference. Only 2,500 turned up, right? This bloke called Mish Rahman, former member of Labour's ruling National Executive Committee, who quit Labour because he said it was devoid of integrity. He said that he's now not happy with the people running the Your Party organisation. So he paraphrased Angela Davis, who Kinsey, you might know, was the Black Panther activist in the 60s and 70s in America, where he said, it's no longer to accept the things you cannot change the things you cannot accept. So there's these kind of revolutionary markers running around. But the great thing is that they're actually taking votes away from Labour.
Yeah.
So every time Labour goes to an election,
Yeah.
anywhere, whether it's a by-election or anything, you know, their vote is now split between your party, not your party, obviously, your party, and their party, and the Greens with that maniac Zach Polansky, who we'll get on to later.
Oh, Zach Polansky.
You know, so, I mean, the whole left side of politics now is a complete and utter mess.
Yeah.
Is it Kinsey, is it a bit like Mandami in New York? What's going on there?
Oh my gosh. I mean, well, you know, one of the people that he hired just had to already quit her job because of all of these anti-Semitic tweets that they stumbled upon that she sent years ago. Yeah, it's a nightmare in hell. I don't know if I'll ever go to New York under him. He's terrifying.
Yeah, he really is. And, you know, he's got some very strange ideas. I mean, I used to live in New York. I lived there for 10 years, loved it. And again, a bit like London, it's just not the same anymore. You know, I don't have any desire to go there anymore. And certainly now with him in charge, I don't think I will.
No.
You know? So, where are we now? I think it's time for the BBC.
Oh.
And that's your job, Mr. Geddes.
It is my job, and I think this one's a pretty easy one. I think, again, being a licensed P, let me start that one again.
That's about right. That's about right.
A licensed fee payer.
And it went up to 175 quid.
It did indeed. It did indeed.
Apparently you'd have to pay.
Oh, they give it for free?
Yeah.
Oh, what a surprise.
It's free. I mean, it should be free.
No surprise. Anyway, BBC. It's had probably the worst year ever, and that's saying something when you bear in mind its history. We've had everything from the whole Trump. How much is he? 10 billion, is it?
$10 billion.
$10 billion that he is looking to obviously sue the BBC for the Panorama show, which did a very malicious edit, shall we say, of his speech, which could be deemed to have incited certainly the storming of the Capitol Hill. And then in addition to that, obviously, there's been various other events taking place throughout the year. Chaps, you can chip in as and where you like, because it's been everything from Strictly, where one of the dancers, Thomas Skinner, I think it is, he is now trying to sue, obviously, the BBC and for basically his exclusion. And he believes there was some influence by the BBC, obviously, on the votes for him, which got him out early.
You know what? This is another one of those ones where there have been so many instances over 2025.
Yeah.
So whether it's what they've done around Gaza,
Yeah.
whether it's refusing still to call terrorists,
Yeah.
whether it's the whole Gary Lineker thing, now
Yeah.
obviously he's going, but that I think was a decision that was made during 2025, and obviously in the run-up to that, Gary Lineker was still spouting his nonsense.
Yeah, but the same thing happened with Hugh Edwards as well. So Hugh Edwards, obviously, the crime, was prosecuted, obviously, in the courts last year. But this year, it's continued with some of the royalties that he's been receiving for some of his previous shows.
The fact that he owes
the IPR for his voice and everything else, which is still.
And he owes the BBC and therefore the license fee.
We are paying for it.
About £200,000.
Correct.
Which, he hasn't paid. So, I think you've got about probably 500 reasons to nominate the BBC, frankly.
Yeah, and there's been a complete change. It's, from what I understand, it's the largest change of senior management from Deborah Turner right through to the very top. Everybody has been moved out of the senior levels. But the problem is, and endemically the problem with the BBC is, it's an incestuous business where everybody within the business just moves up a level, moves up a level, moves up a level. And so is there going to be any fresh blood brought in to change basically the culture, change the
They
approach.
don't have any fresh blood.
They won't have any.
Because everyone who works there has only ever worked at the BBC. Most people who work at the BBC have only ever worked. I mean, Hugh Edwards joined the BBC, I think, when he was 21 or something. And never worked anywhere else.
Indoctrinated.
And he got indoctrinated. And there's a story out just this week saying that Thomas Skinner is suing the BBC. He thinks the Strictly vote was rigged. I mean, and almost everything...
Because of his politics.
And almost everything that they touch now appears to be biased. It's only ever biased in one direction.
There is absolutely no other solution to this. And if we want to keep the BBC in name, and maybe just the news bit, you know, not Radio 6 and Radio 19 and goodness knows what else they're spending money on, this has to be a subscription-based approach.
Of course it does,
right?
Of course it does.
How can you have a media organisation competing with the likes of Netflix and Prime and, you know, whoever else that effectively is not accountable? There's no scrutiny whatsoever, because it doesn't matter what the output is in terms of quality. They're going to get paid anyway. That makes no sense.
Exactly.
And that's the problem. It's a job for life, as you said.
Well, that's the problem.
You know, it's a job for life.
Let's get Kinsey involved in this as well, though, because Donald Trump is suing, I think it's the Southern District of Florida, in Miami, for $10 billion. A lot of people are saying, Kinsey, that, you know, it's going to be tough for him to prove that he was damaged in some way. I don't think it is. I think he will be very clever. He'll use some very smart lawyers. And if the BBC's got any brains, they'll settle the action. So it doesn't cost them millions and millions of pounds to defend.
And this would not be Trump's first win. He went after CBS in the United States. He went after ABC here in the United States. CBS doing a complete overhaul after their fight with Donald Trump and completely rebranding his station, basically catering to him, or at least his base, it looks like. I think that the BBC has always been such a respected and admired brand until 2025. It's taken a huge hit to its credibility. And it's not just Trump. It's the Diana-Rama book by Andy Webb, where he goes into all of the deceit and the deception. They went not only that Martin Bashir went into, but the BBC executives, what the BBC executives went through to protect Martin Bashir, knowing that he was a bold-faced liar. So I think that 2025 is a year of reckoning for the BBC. I do think that they have to change the way that they function. If you don't believe in them or you don't trust them, why should you have to pay a fee? It makes absolutely no sense.
And with this Labour government, as you said, Russell, they're talking about giving it free to people on benefits. You're kind of going, I mean, this is getting ridiculous.
The amount of people that are on benefits in the UK is literally millions. Millions and millions of people. So, you know, I don't know how you qualify that. I mean, the last I read was that there are 22 million people in Britain on universal credit. So we're saying that all of them will end up having to not pay the licence fee by choice, which means, therefore, that to fund the BBC, the rest of us that actually work and pay tax, presumably are going to have to see a massive increase in the licence fee.
Well, multiply that by 175 quid, and that's quite a lot of money, isn't it?
I'm not paying it.
22 million.
Not paying it.
No, I'm not. Here's another report this week that came out. The BBC is going to have to review its coverage of the Middle East after admitting to multiple problems with its reporting of the war in Gaza. You mentioned
multiple problems. Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
I've always thought Jeremy Bowen, he used to be a great correspondent and had a really great reputation, but who now is nothing more than a mouthpiece, really, for
Hamas. They're like a Hamas PR agency.
They are.
Well, I mean, I saw an interview that he did with one of the leaders of Hamas, and at the end of the interview, he gets up and gives him a hug. You know.
Well, there's also
there's that documentary, remember, where the son of the Hamas leader down there was seen to be an innocent Palestinian who was trying to get the point across.
They paid him,
and they paid him as well. And you know what? The one thing I do know with the BBC, because I know a few guys who've done security with some of the crews in the war zones and that sort of thing, is that they do their due diligence and they will verify through their local fixer who is actually the people that they should be talking to. Are there any politically sensitive points connected to those people? So there was a deception on a grand scale.
Because just journalistically speaking, you know, if you're running a features desk or a news desk, and somebody comes in with an interview and you go, I've got this great interview with this 14-year-old kid, what life is like as a kid living in Gaza. The first question you'd have is, are you sure there's no connection to Hamas?
Exactly.
What does his dad do? You know,
of course.
Maybe his dad was killed. Or, you know, the point is you would ask the question.
Let's not forget as well the Question Time audience. I mean, just a few weeks ago.
2
weeks ago. To they're now apparently they've had their asylum applications approved, but when they came into this country 4 or 5 years ago, one I think was from Iran, one was from Afghanistan. They came here illegally. What do the Question Time producers do? Well, let's stick them in the audience. Let's not worry about impartiality and bias. Not only stick them in the audience, script them. One of the
as well.
And Will, they paid them.
I know.
They paid them.
What?
Yes.
You're kidding.
Expenses, they paid them.
Oh my God.
Which
That's
I think,
extraordinary.
I mean, again, our money, licensed players' money.
Because I mean, the chances of that happening by random, and it's so ridiculous. I mean, don't they think that someone would go, I think they'll see the game's up here because, you know, we've obviously brought them in.
He's really good.
What a coincidence.
But also, he was from Iran, but apparently an expert on the Northern Ireland Treaty.
Well, he did from his iPhone anyway, that's for sure.
Do you know what it is today, though? I've got some good news for you.
Go on.
I'm recording this, it's just before Christmas. Apparently, it's International Migrants' Day.
Is it?
Yeah. I've got a message here from Maggie Chapman, who is a member of the Scottish Parliament.
Right.
She says, migrants are not statistics or headlines. They are our neighbours, colleagues, carers, friends and loved ones, contributing every day to our communities and our society.
Yeah, not all of them.
Yeah,
not all of them. No, there are many that are, but there are quite a few that we don't know what they're doing.
They are our neighbours, colleagues, carers and friends, but we didn't actually ask for them to come.
Yeah.
Anyway, never mind. But here's, and also what's something they've been told to do, the BBC, you'll like this. They're also reviewing their history output, apparently.
Oh, yeah?
Because they've accepted that they've been overly defensive after a Daily Telegraph investigation report had all sorts of complaints about it. They've now admitted that they were possibly presenting a distorted version of Britain's colonial past.
Possibly.
Oh,
You know,
possibly.
Because they don't like history.
Yeah.
It's all about how great Britain was. They only like putting on like sort of dodgy professors who can completely rip asunder the British Empire and say how awful it all was and how terrible we were and how nasty and how much money, which David Lammy thinks we should give back by to different countries.
The British Bias Corporation.
Yeah, absolutely extraordinary. Well, that's a pretty good nomination, actually.
I think
have
so.
to say.
I think so. It's a winner there.
I'm not sure about that, mate. I'm not sure about that.
Well, we're nearly at the final furlong. I think we've got one more to go. I do want to give a special mention to Dale Vince as well, because he sort of got himself in at the final furlong the other day when he put that ridiculous tweet out about Bondi Beach and was roundly criticised for it. And in fact, he was so roundly criticised for it that some members of the government actually said he needed to apologise, which he didn't quite do. He sort of tried to explain it, but we'll stick him in there. But the final nominee for Plank of the Year, you might not know this guy, Kinsey, is Zach Polanski.
Boobs guy.
Yeah, the boobs guy, exactly right. The man who can make your breast bigger just by looking at you.
Well, he is the boob booster.
Yeah. He is. Although he claims
Look into my eyes. Look into my eyes.
he claims that don't look into his mouth though, because his teeth are.
I know. He could eat an apple through a fence, couldn't he?
Well, people have said to me two things. He brushes his teeth with a hammer, which is how he manages to get that look. And there's another one that I'll give you in a minute as well. But basically, he has emerged as this kind of leader of the Green Party, which is another weird lefty party.
Yeah.
They never seem to talk much about green issues.
They don't talk about windmills.
No, not at all.
They talk about communism.
They talk a lot about communism. Reclaiming
Boobs.
sort of the streets for the working people. And basically, nobody should be allowed to have more than 10 million quid or something. And all the rest of the money would have to go to
wants a
that.
wealth tax, doesn't he?
He wants a wealth tax.
On wealth.
He wants a
But he's come up with a cracker, hasn't he, Mike?
He has. Go on.
No, you go ahead, sir.
Well, I mean,
to do with the migrants,
he's come out with loads. Well, he was over in Calais just about a week ago. Helping them get to Britain.
Yeah.
And helping hand out
water bottles.
He was,
topping up.
Very kind.
But he's also been talking a lot because he does. I mean, one of the things he does do is he gets on TV a lot. So, despite the fact that he's got a minuscule kind of,
they've got 4 MPs.
Well, they've got independent MPs, haven't they?
Yeah.
I think, and they've got that guy Mothin Ali.
Yeah.
Who I can't remember if he's still a Green or an Independent, but I mean, he wins for the Green Party and said he did it for Gaza.
Wasn't he the pro-Palestine guy?
Yeah.
There's also, I'll tread carefully here, but we're not regular by Ofcom, are we? Today, as we shoot this, he's Councillor Suhail Asghar.
I've seen this guy. He's been suspended, right?
He has been arrested for modern slavery, and he is a Green Party councillor. Now, innocent until proven guilty. I don't know if he's been charged.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. But a Green Party councillor has been, arrested for modern slavery.
Amazing
work. The party of the people.
The last person that got that was that UN judge, wasn't it? Remember the UN? apparently had some slaves knocking around
That's right,
the
yeah.
house. You know, no problem. But he's given an interview recently.
I got stories about the UN, but that's for another show.
That's for another show. We're going to do a whole show on the UN.
But you know what else he wants to do, mate? He wants to leave NATO,
Yeah.
leave us completely defensive.
Yeah.
This is a man that actually, despite all of his shortcomings, he's doing actually quite well in the polls at the expense of Labour. He wants to legalise all drugs.
Yes,
no matter
all
what,
drugs.
and legalise shoplifting. Well, it's pretty much legalised already, of course. But he just said, look, if someone's hungry, let them take what they want. I mean, does that apply to MacBooks and Nike?
Yeah.
As well, I
Yeah,
presume?
iPhones.
This is one of the typical kind of
mental.
You know, sort of shibboleths of the left. You know, they make out that all people shoplifting are doing it because they can't afford to buy the stuff.
Yeah, right.
Half of them are selling it.
Well, the one I
you know.
caught recently, he definitely wasn't going to eat 6 steaks and 4 chickens on his own.
Used to see my fridge.
Seriously.
But here's what. But Zach Polanski, because of course he wasn't born Zach Polanski. That wasn't his name.
What is it? Dave something or other.
Dave.
Yeah, it's Dave something or other. But he changed it because he said that he wanted to reclaim his Jewish heritage. And
Yeah,
that's why
right.
He brought back the name Polanski. But as you will know, Kinsey, it's not a great idea, is it, to call yourself after a man, a film director who's wanted still for child rape charges in California.
That's exactly what I associate the last name Polanski with. I associate it with a hot tub and a little girl.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, great. Well done, Zach. You know,
It's kind of like deciding to change your name to Adolf.
yeah,
Isn't it?
it is. Well, here's what he has to say for himself, right? Because he says that he's facing an incredible amount of criticism, not just about his policies,
Not just his teeth.
but about the way he looks, right?
Yeah.
And according to him, he says Harriet Harman weirdly called him macho. Jeremy Clarkson had a rant in the Sunday Times about his teeth.
Yep.
Daily Mail's Quentin Letts said, his looks mean I have shades of Hannibal Lecter about me. He says the attacks have been fairly consistent and multiplied by a small number of very loud online trolls. The same trolls obsessed with the fact that I changed my name when I was 18. Well, the problem is, if people change their names,
Yeah.
somebody gets a bit suspicious.
Yeah.
Of course they do.
Why have you changed your name?
Yeah.
And also the whole business of the breast.
Hiding that previous identity, Mike.
Yeah.
That's what it
It's
is.
a bit weird.
Yeah.
And also the sort of obsession that he's got. And he says that he was misquoted and slightly misrepresented by the Sun newspaper when they actually sat in a room with him and he told them that he could, in fact, make your breasts larger just by, hypnotising you.
Yeah, I just think he missed an opportunity to call himself Zachary Titties.
Zachary Titties.
Yeah,
Great name.
that would have been great. Well, some people call him the tit whisperer.
Yeah.
It's the man who can make things bigger just by looking at them. But unfortunately, all he's doing to the Labour vote is making it smaller.
Yeah.
And it's all shrinking. But listen, I mean, I think we've come to the end of a very, very exciting show. It's probably a bit longer than we were going to do.
That's great.
I hope you've enjoyed it, Kinsey, as much as we have. And I appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed. What are you doing for Christmas? This show's going to go out on Christmas Day evening. So what will you be doing?
I will be watching awful romantic comedies on the television in my pajamas and stuffing my face like a good American.
Is it turkey?
I prefer ham.
Okay, so you have ham, because turkey's for Thanksgiving, really, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We also have turducken.
Turducken, what's that?
It is a duck filled with all sorts of yummy things. A turkey, it's like a half turkey, half duck, filled with sometimes seafood.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Americans are crazy.
Sounds nice. Duck with seafood.
Duck and, well, I mean, you can have duck,
Yeah.
you can have duck and shrimp, what do you call it? Dumplings, can't you, in the Chinese?
Oh, like not wonton, dumpling, whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. Anyway, we digress.
Sounds good.
Well, listen, have a fabulous Christmas and a wonderful New Year. We'll see you when we're back live from January the 5th. Have a fantastic time, Kinsey. I'm going to have to declare the winner now.
Yes.
Right? And I think there's only one. I mean, we could come close with Harry and Meghan. We could come close with Richard III. I think it's got to be Keir Starmer.
I think it has.
I think it has. I mean,
You're probably right.
the worst Prime Minister of all time, the most unpopular Prime Minister ever. I think his current rating is around about minus 72. Well done, Keir.
Well done, Keir.
Keir Starmer. Plank, you are indeed the plank of the year. Thank you very much indeed.
It had to be.
Thanks to for putting this whole thing together. We'll see you live, of course, on January the 5th, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. every single weekday morning. Kinsey, have a lovely holiday period, and we'll see you very, very soon. And for all the rest of you, I hope you've had a fantastic Christmas so far. Look out for more and more content coming to us on the Substack. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like it. Please subscribe to it. It's the Mike Graham Show. Let's get it on. And just remember, even though there's an awful lot of them out there, don't be a plank.